think there's a Comanche under here somewhere. Oh yeah, look at that. I could barely hear it under all this snow.
When the engine is cold, it misfires on what I can only assume to be cylinder 2. You can hear it the best under acceleration.
How do you like that cold idle? What the hell? I just saw that. What the shit? How is it running so smooth without a whole spark plug? Are you serious right now? Okay, I guess that does sound a little better. Oh yeah, she's way happier now. Okay. Well, shit. On today's episode of Guess the New Noise.
If you leave the hood popped, the little spring that pushes it up will rub against the hood and make that terrible squealing noise. Scared the shit out of me the first time I heard that. And the spark plug being unplugged was not the issue. That was me being stupid. I left it unplugged, so ignore that. On this 1986 2.5 liter, there's no OBD2. I can't just plug in a scanner and read some technical thing that tells me what to replace. Well, I could, but I don't have a Renix code reader, and Nick and Time is out of stock until further notice, so we'll have to do this the old-fashioned way. There are 5 things an engine needs to run. When a cylinder misfires, it means one of those 5 essential components is missing: air, fuel, spark, compression, and timing. The tricky thing with an inconsistent misfire, that is, it runs perfectly fine when warm, is that whatever one of these essential things is missing is only missing when the engine is cold. On this engine, both air and fuel enter at the same place, and thus, where there is air, there will be fuel entering the engine. A misfire on one cylinder couldn't be caused by a stock injector because there's only one injector, and all the cylinders get the same amount of air and fuel. The spark plugs are all brand new, and the only suspicious thing with the old ones is that cylinder 2's was pink. I still don't know what that means, but I feel like it's a clue. So my next move is a compression test. If a cylinder has low compression, that would definitely cause it to misbehave at certain temperatures. A stuck valve, bad piston rings, or even a failing head gasket could compromise compression. To do a compression test, we need to disable the fuel system, which is one of these 2 relays.
It's a 50-50 chance. We'll see. Oh, that's not it. Well, that's the one. Oh yeah, that stupid idle motor thing. That's so weird.
I'm going to get to the idle motor thing later in the video because it also refuses to idle when cold, but again, idles fine when warm. Cylinder 1 measured a healthy 140 psi, exactly within factory specifications. And I do note that before doing this compression test, I drove around and got the engine to operating temperature, which is where you'll get the most accurate results.
Oh, I hate it when it does that. Ooh, damn. If there were one cylinder that wasn't really firing right, I would say number 2. That's the one that was pink earlier. Now it's covered in soot. Yeah, there's not even like 1,000 miles on these spark plugs. Well, if there is something wrong with the compression, I would definitely say cylinder 2 is the most likely culprit at this point.
Cylinder 2 measured 135, still well within spec, so that trail ended quick.
Well, it looks normal so far.
Cylinder 3 and 4 got 132 and 139, but at the very least we have learned that compression is good.
The other issue is, of course, it won't idle right. And in a past video, I thought this thing on the throttle might be an idle air control valve. That's totally wrong. There's no way that's what it is. I don't know what it is. But this truck doesn't have an IAC because of the way the fuel enters the engine. An IAC is just like a bypass that goes around the throttle plate to let a little bit of air in, just enough to keep the engine idling. But because fuel and air have to enter this throttle, instead we have this little motor here that just pushes the throttle open. Whenever you shut the engine off, this thing extends a little bit to push the throttle open so that the next time you start it, enough air and fuel can enter the engine. Mine, however, doesn't do that. Looking online, these idle motors are supposed to have adjustment screws in them. And sure enough, mine has the threads for said screw, but I mean, who knows where the hell it went. So without the adjustment screw, the idle motor is already fully extended. It can't extend any farther. Really, all I should need is the adjustment screw. You know, I put a screw in this thing, it'll space everything out correctly and probably work. But I had a hell of a time trying to find the thread pitch for that screw and eventually just gave up. I'm looking at this alleged screw and I'm thinking, all this really is a spacer. We could put anything in between here. It doesn't have to be a screw. So I took a dime and 3 pennies I found laying around at work, wrapped them in electrical tape, and then wrapped that to the throttle. All right, listen to this startup now. You're going to be able to tell on the video just because of how much this thing vibrates. But the idle motor is slowly retracting itself, very slowly, as the engine warms up. I do hate filming things at night, but like, it's December in Wisconsin. What do you want me to do? It idles way better now. Let me warm start it. This is the first time I will have warm started it. I mean, listen to that. That's idling right where it should. Like, I can tell without a tachometer, that's a healthy idle right there. Well, I fixed my license plate lights in the AutoZone parking lot. You wouldn't believe it, but both of the bulbs apparently were just burnt out. I thought it would be, you know, a wiring issue with the very questionable wiring this truck has, but now I got license plate lights. Isn't it exciting, Clay?
Are you making a video?
So this is that big ass hill I always like to drive up without downshifting. Can a 4-cylinder do it though? I don't know. You gotta get a running start, of course. I have it floored already. But I'm in the top gear, you know, obviously this truck doesn't have an overdrive. The thing is though, overdrive actually would give it a disadvantage because that gear ratio is slightly higher when you factor in the 410 gears. But with a 1-to-1 in the transmission and 355 gears in the axle, can a 2.5 liter make it over this hill without downshifting? I'm already losing a lot of speed. And I do have it loaded down somewhat. Some junk tires I gotta get rid of. Oh, we're already at 55. Come on. She's got it. She's got it. Come on now. It may not have power, but it's still like 2/3 of a 4-liter. So, we're almost there. I'm still in 4th gear. Come on. Oh yeah. Oh, she's got it, dude. Like, I only lost about 10 miles an hour, but we made it. And I never downshifted.
Come on, you got it. Yeah. Yeah. Woohoo!
This is rust in the making right here. Look at that. But my mud flaps are doing something. You know, so at least this particular back section of the bed won't rust out as quickly. So I managed to do a compression test. I fixed the idle for 13 cents. Kind of fixed it. That was a good deal. But I also fixed the heater somewhat. The heater didn't do anything at all. And I was looking around in this jumble of very AMC wires. And this one, this is the heater. You know, the wires go into the blower motor right here. And there was a crimp connector right here that was like very obviously corroded and not making electrical contact. So I put my own crimp connector on there, and suddenly the blower motor works now. But none of the controls do anything. Whether I have this set to off or this in any selection, this knob doesn't do anything. So this whole panel is completely dead. But regardless of whatever you set this to, the fan is on the lowest setting and it only blows out of the defrost vents. And that tells me vacuum leak. That is staple Cherokee vacuum leak. So obviously all the vacuum lines on this thing are 40 years old. I would imagine none of them work. One of them's probably broken, disconnected somewhere, but I really don't care that much because now I can drive it with the windows up because of I fixed the exhaust to the point where it doesn't just billow into the cab here, so that's very nice. And then with the defroster on the lowest setting, it does eventually kind of warm up in here. You know, it's a very small cab. And the last thing is after I fixed the idle issue, my MPG in this thing went from like 16 to 18 almost. I guess like that much fuel was being wasted at idle because of how badly it was running. So I'm pretty happy with this minuscule progress. The sun's already setting. It's the shortest day of the year today, but I figured I'd give everybody a sort of Krimis update. What's going on with this whole thing? I never figured out the Misfire. It still does that, but I don't really care. It runs. It does what I need it to. I'm happy with it. So thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next year.